Creating a new relationship with your body after a traumatic injury. How do you do that? Well, stick around and we're going to talk to our guest coming up on this episode of Love My Body, Love Myself. Stick around. Welcome, welcome, welcome to this episode of Love My Body, Love Myself. I'm your host, Alicia Curry, and today's show is going to be a spectacular one. I have a really special guest who is here to talk about loving herself again after a traumatic brain injury. And before we get to our guest, I want to share a couple things with you, some housekeeping things. First of all, if you are watching us here on Facebook, welcome, welcome. Thank you so much. I invite you to join our group over on Facebook. It's facebook.com/groups/LMBLM, Love My Body, Love Myself. I also want to welcome those on YouTube. So if you're watching on YouTube, if you saw our promotions and click that link and you're over on YouTube watching us, go ahead and give us a subscribe, hit that notification bell. So when our shows go live, you will get notified, or when we upload more videos, because we've got great content over there on self-improvement, body positivity, how do you personal growth and development, leadership, a lot of great things over there. So come on and give us a subscribe over on YouTube. And if you're not on YouTube currently, our YouTube channel is youtube.com/C/Alicia Curry. So you can come over there and like us. Also, if you're on LinkedIn, hello. Thank you so much for joining us on LinkedIn and Twitch. So we'd love for you to share your comments and thoughts as we go through this show. We do respond, and if you're doing it while we're live, we'll put your comments up so that we can respond to your comments. If you are watching us on a replay, also put your comments up, because we do go back in and check out your comments and say hi. And thank you so much for watching and joining. So the Love My Body, Love Myself show is sponsored by FAMU Mary, which advocates for advocates for us to get educated about the legal and proper use of medical marijuana in the state of Florida. So go on over and check them out. We'll have some more information coming up on the show about how you can check out FAMU Mary. It's also sponsored by Alicia Curry Inc., a boutique consulting firm that specializes in developing audaciously proactive leaders and teams with brain science and people data to get you the results that you're looking for. And it is produced by Red Carpet CEO. I wanted to share, hey, Kimberly, you can't see me, Kimberly. Ooh, I am not sure where you're watching from, but we are having some technical issues. I saw some stuff pop up on Facebook. Are you watching from Facebook, Kimberly? Let me double check. Because Facebook, you're on LinkedIn. It says we're live on LinkedIn. Maybe it's on a little bit of a delay, but hopefully LinkedIn will catch up with us. So sorry about that. It says we're live. So hi. Thank you so much for joining us, Kimberly. Really appreciate it. There's a dark screen. Oh, I see myself. What? You can see us on Facebook. Thank you for sharing that. We are live on Facebook. Kimberly, would you like to come join us over on YouTube? Because this is a really great topic for us. So let me see if I can grab that YouTube link and drop it in. I'm trying to multitask here let me see. I'm going to drop the link on YouTube. I'm going to drop the YouTube link in there. There we go. So please go ahead and check us out on YouTube. Hey, Corey, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Thank you. So Kimberly, just come on over to the YouTube link to join us, because now I am actually going to invite my guest on for tonight's show. And she is super spectacular. I loved meeting her. Actually, Corey, who I just put up, he introduced the two of us. So Valerie, Dr. Valerie Shepard, uh, she had a brain hemorrhage in 2015. So we're going to talk about her stroke, her brain hemorrhage that she experienced, and then how she had to learn how to deal with everything again. So, Dr. Valerie, thank you so much for joining us today on the show.
Yay, it's so great to be here. Hello, Alicia. Hi, Kimberly. Hi, Corey. Hi, Facebook user.
I know, because it doesn't really say who it is if you're watching us from the group. So yeah, it blocks out their names. But thank you so much.
Thank
so
you.
prior to your brain hemorrhage, what was really going on in your life? Like, walk us up to before that happened.
So this was a great time in my life. I had finished my book, and I had received what is called the advanced reader copy from the printer, so that I
You
could
have a copy of it, by the way, to show us the book?
It's right behind me.
It's right behind you. Awesome.
Sitting right here. So I had an advanced reader copy, and I was going to see different people who were endorsing the book and give them a copy and have them read it. And things were expanding with my curriculum at the campus of the University of California, Irvine. It was the very first quarter of the pilot of my course called Living 101, Being Happy and Whole. And so I was dancing in my energy. I was traveling a little bit, spending time with friends, going on walks and runs, I was very active, doing lots of fun things, and expecting even greater things to be showing up.
Mm-hmm. And so you were loving life, you were loving yourself, things were all going well for you. And were you experiencing stress? Were you experiencing any other kind of symptoms? This was just like way out of the blue.
This came out of the blue. The night before, so I call it about 16, maybe a little bit longer, maybe a day and a half before or less. I was visiting friends in LA. So I live in Orange County, California, and I'm a member, right now I'm on the board of directors of an organization called the Evolutionary Business Council. And we get together, it's a global organization, and so groups of us get together different places. And so an LA, Orange County, San Diego contingent got together in LA on the night of the 4th. And I was so happy. I've got pictures sitting at the table with like 8 or 9 other people showing my advanced reader copy. I had a glass of red wine, and we were laughing, and I was on top of the world. It was fabulous. And I drove home that night, went to bed, got up the next morning. I was going to be the lead facilitator in an all-day workshop for an organization within the University of California ecosystem. So it was about 40 or 50 people from this department, and we were doing an all-day leadership workshop. And I went to the workshop, sat down, started participating. And during the workshop, as I was facilitating breakout sessions, and we were at different tables, and I was backing up. I'd gone to the back of the room to talk to this one table directly. I usually wander when I'm facilitating. And so I was backing up to the front of the room, and something happened that I wasn't aware of. I didn't really know what was going on, but I remember distinctly a voice from over here. I don't know who it was to this day. I have no idea. And they said, "Are you all right?" And so I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine." And I tried to back up again, and my right foot wouldn't move. But I thought it was just stuck. You know how when you're in conference rooms, they have those rubber things that cover up cords? So
Yeah.
I thought maybe my heel had gotten stuck on, I don't know. I don't know. And I couldn't move. I didn't move again. And I started to fall. And somebody over here, I don't know if it was the same person or a different person, caught me before I fell, which would have been really bad. And
Hmm.
they sat me down in a chair. And I remember just sitting there kind of going, you know how you take an inventory? Like, you fall down or something happens and you're like,
It's like,
okay, am I
yeah.
okay? Like,
There's
do I
no
feel pain?
broken bones, everything, nothing bleeding, nothing. Yeah. It's
Exactly,
not looking like,
exactly. So I was just kind of sitting there. Now, mind you, I'm the lead facilitator. There are 40 or 50 faces looking at me. I'm at the
Mhm.
front of the room, sort of, and it was strange. And I remember looking for the person in the room, the head of the department, and she's the one who had, contracted with me to facilitate. And I just looked at her and I said, I don't know what this is. And she said, I'm calling 911. And
Mhm.
I remember saying, I think that's a good idea. And I remember running through like, what had I eaten? Um,
Mhm.
uh, what had I
But
had
you
enough
were
water?
coherent enough. You were speaking coherently, like, because I know some people, when they're having a stroke or a brain hemorrhage, their language gets slurred. They start to slur their words, and that's how some people start realizing, wait a second, something's not right because they're slurring and they're thinking they're speaking coherently, and everything's coming out kind of jumbled.
Yes. Well, that wasn't my experience at that moment, but that
Mhm.
was my experience three
Later
days
on.
later in the
Wow.
ICU. I mean, when I woke up from a coma in the ICU. But at that moment, everything was still moving. I was
Hmm.
doing an inventory of my body and what I'd had, water. I hadn't eaten lunch because I'd gotten a message when I walked past the lunch buffet not to eat. I heard two words, no eat. And they ended up being powerful words because the next thing that happened is I looked at Stephanie. She'd come up to me and I said, I think I'm going to be sick. And she
Mm.
said, we'll get you to the ladies' room. And I said, I'm not going to make it. And
Mm.
I didn't know then that I do what I do know now, which is that's a classic symptom and indicator of the blood pooling in my brain. So
Mm.
a brain hemorrhage is very different than a classic stroke, which is a blockage.
Mhm.
They're completely different. Blockages are probably 85% of all strokes.
Mhm.
Brain hemorrhages are 15. And
Oh,
so
wow.
it's not the normal thing. There's
Mhm.
they can't give you, people ask me, well, did they give you that drug they can give you? I'm like, no, that drug is to break up clots. It's a clot
Mhm.
buster. With somebody who's got a bleed, that would be deadly.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, it's like giving a blood thinner to somebody who's a
Yeah,
hemophiliac. Like,
yeah,
no,
right,
don't do
right.
that.
Yeah.
So it just progressed from there. We
Mm.
cleared the room. I ended up puking for what seemed to me like forever.
Never,
Um,
right.
and I wasn't stable. So when the EMTs got there, they couldn't take me to the hospital right away because I wasn't stable. And then at that point, it started going in and out.
Your
And I woke
consciousness.
up really 4 days later. And that was the shocker of a lifetime. Yeah,
Wow.
that was a shocker because here I was, a speaker, a professor, a healer,
Mm.
a counselor, and a lover of life,
And
and
enjoying life. You weren't in
enjoying
like a
life.
high stress, like,
Yeah, I
yeah.
was having so much fun and so proud of the accomplishments. And this was the first quarter of my class. Like
Mm.
I had championed this class. I had pitched it. I'd won the business. Like this was big. It was big to
Yeah.
me. And the students were getting such really awesome breakthroughs. And this was on a Friday
Mhm.
before the Tuesday that was the final day of class. So
Mm.
they had a big project to deliver, and I was so excited. And I woke up 3 days later, so like Monday, and
Mm.
I was kind of like, where am I? I did not know what had happened. And my mother was there and my brother. And so I kind of was like, what's
Hmm.
my brother doing here? Because he lives in Virginia.
Right.
And
So this
so he'd
this isn't
flown out.
like 2 hours later, I fell down in this conference room and now my brother's here. Yeah. You
Yeah.
realize something big just happened,
Something's up.
something major just happened. So
Yeah.
we're gonna go to take a quick break, but there was when you were, like going back in your head, like what could have happened. You didn't fall, or you didn't have any, like, you know, hit your head somewhere. And if that's like ignorance, you can just let me know. This was just a vessel burst. Pop. Okay.
Bing.
On that, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back for more on this remarkable story, because it's not that um, it can happen to anyone. This is one of these things that can happen anytime, anywhere, to anyone. You didn't have like high blood pressure and you burst a vessel. This is, you were just enjoying life and poop, this happened. So don't go anywhere, people. Stick around. We're going to continue this story coming back.
Are you curious about marijuana? Florida A&M University established the Medical Marijuana Education and Research Initiative, also known as MARY, to educate the public about medical marijuana use, as well as the detrimental health and social impacts of unlawful marijuana use on local communities. Empower yourself with knowledge. Find out more at mmeri.famu.edu. mmeri.famu.edu. MARY. Educate, learn, talk.
The Love My Body, Love Myself show is sponsored by Alicia Curry Inc. and produced by Red Carpet CEO. Alicia Curry Inc. specializes in developing audaciously proactive leaders and teams using brain science and people data to get results. Visit our website, aliciacurry.com, for more information. The show is produced by Red Carpet CEO. If you'd like a copy of Age with Audacious Confidence, visit our link tree at linktr.ee/acurry. Let's get back to the show. Well, welcome back to Love My Body, Love Myself. Gotta get that banner down. I am your host, Alicia Curry, and on today's show, we are talking about to Dr. Valerie Shepard, who I'm going to bring back in a moment. But what a fascinating story, because this isn't meant to scare anybody or to make you feel nervous or anything like that. It's just making you aware of how Dr. Valerie's, it's Dr. Valerie's story, and how we need to be vigilant with our health. And we need to do what it takes to be healthy, so that, like Dr. Valerie, we can recover from something like this when we are in good health. So it's not meant to, like, make you scared or anything. This is about loving your body, loving yourself, and loving your body after something like this has happened. So let's bring Dr. Valerie back. Before I do that, I'm going to bring her back up. But I just wanted to show the link for FAMU Mary. So just to find out more, because I know that went by quickly before, it is mmeri.famu.edu. mmeri.famu.edu. So educate yourself about the legal and lawful use of medical marijuana. And they also have a show called Talk. It's the state of cannabis in America. So you can check that out as well on their website. Here we go. Back to Dr. Valerie. So, Dr. Valerie.
Still here.
You are still here with us. So
I am, in more ways than one, right? Like,
yes, because you're a spiritual healer. So I talked about, being physically well, but you also have to be spiritually well, so that you can endure these things, so you can bounce back. Because waking up 3 days after and not having any memory of what happened and just being completely blacked out because you were in a coma, what was that like?
Well, I think the most important part of it was waking up and not being able to speak. So I couldn't talk. the right side of my body was completely shut down. I actually thought I was going to be paralyzed for life. I couldn't use the right side of my body. And the first thing, now your comment, the stay in great health, so that if something like this happens, you're actually at a better starting point for your recovery. So I want to put that back in people's hearts and minds as I say this next part of what happened to me. So in my mind, I remember kind of sitting there for a second going, well, this is interesting. And I didn't know that I was speaking gibberish. This is to your point earlier as well. I thought I was, in my head, I was formulating perfect sentences. And I could tell by the face of my mother, the faces of my mother and brother, that's not what was coming out of my mouth. And I know what gibberish sounds like because I'm an improv comedian, or I used to be. And so it was.
Did you hear it though? Were you hearing what you were saying?
No, I wasn't at that moment. I could not hear it at all. I thought I was making perfect sentences. But here's what happened. I just kind of stopped. And I remember saying to myself, well, isn't this interesting? I'm a speaker, a teacher, and a healer, and I can't speak. And the next thought, without even putting any energy into it, was, well, if Stephen Hawking can do it, so can I. And I went back out and I came back to the next day. And here's what's interesting. I truly believe that because of the principles and the tools that I apply in my life all the time, when I came back the next day after just letting it go, not letting it freak me out, not getting all upset, just letting it go, oh, well, we'll see what happens. My speech had completely dropped back in. I never went to this day. I've never gone to speech therapy, never done any of that. And it just all came back in.
The power of just letting go.
It's the power of faith and trust, and, knowing that this is not happening to me. There's something in this that is supposed to help me with whatever my next stage of my soul's evolution is.
Thank you, Corey, for that. Yes, he said that you're amazing. Glad you're sharing your story.
Thanks, Corey.
And that's really big. Spiritual health, physical health, mental health, so that when you're literally trapped in your body because your mind was functioning, you were making perfect sense in your mind, and then the rest of your body was not cooperating.
Wasn't having any of it. Was on its own path. And I think, this integration is what we have to keep remembering. Like, we're given opportunities to remember the integration of the whole, the totality of life. It's not just, I work with people who really grew up, and I was one of them, believing my body's at my command. Like, I control it. I was a NCAA Division I conference champion long jumper. I ran track and field. I was a sprinter, and I ran all the sprint relays. I anchored the mile relay. I did a lot. I played soccer for 20 years. I mean, my relationship with my body was one of command and control. I tell it what to do, and it damn sure better snap into, come on, do what I say.
Wow.
And it was all about get the most out of my body, but as using my body as though it was a tool at my disposal. There was very little compassion. I grew up in the no pain, no gain period of women's athletics before Title IX. And a lot of the practices for getting the best out of yourself weren't very kind, weren't very loving, weren't very compassionate. And I was bought in hook, line, and sinker.
Wow. I'm going to ask a question that's not related to where I want to go with this conversation. So I'm going to ask this question, and I'm going to go back to where I want to go. Did they ever trace anything that created or caused the hemorrhage? Whether it was years ago or not? Okay. So that's not where I want to go. But where I want to go is, having said all of that your body was a tool, you do what I tell you to do. I will, like people crash diet, they do this, they do all kinds of things to their body, which is why I really wanted to do this show. So I'm so glad that you said that, because it's about the appreciation learning how to appreciate what your body is doing for you and loving it, even if you have to forgive it for breaking down on you sometimes, So how did you now start building that process? Because it was not on command anymore. It was not doing, you said you had paralysis, so it was not doing what you wanted it to do, like hand lift, right. Come on, do what you're supposed to do. How did you now shift to learn how to be in harmony with what your body was doing instead of fighting it?
Yeah, and I didn't really ever fight it at this point. So at this point in my life, I'm way beyond the person that I used to be when I was command and control. Like my book is the journey of my own transformation, and it started as a result of my noticing that my life was really empty. I was very successful, had all the trappings that I was told would make me happy. Get these things, do these things, and you'll be happy. And I wasn't. And that's not to blame anyone. It's just to say that wasn't the experience of my life. I felt like there were times when I was like, this isn't supposed to be my life. Like, this doesn't make sense. So I had already done years of transformational work. So I already knew, I was already in the space of, I need to make peace with the totality of me, not just my conscious intellectual ability, but all of me. And so I woke up in a much better space with the fact that my body could not do most anything. I was taken from ICU. I was in ICU for a week. I was taken from ICU to a residential rehab facility and when I first went there, I really didn't think I was going to ever walk again. And the first thing they did, I got there in the evening, and the very next day I had my first physical therapy appointment, and they said, we're going to get you up and start you walking in the hallway. And I was like, I actually was upset about that. And I thought it was a cruel joke. I was like, that's not a very funny thing to say to somebody like me. And they said, what do you mean somebody like you? I said, I'm paralyzed. And they said, you're not. And I said, what do you mean? I can't move my... And they said, didn't anybody tell you that you have every opportunity? Like, this is not pure paralysis. Right. And so I just burst into tears. I had a good cry, kind of like releasing the, that I didn't even know I was holding, but releasing that pocket of, like, when you inhale, like you're in fight, freeze, like I was in freeze, and I was in, like, I don't know what to do. And I was doing all of my best practices for staying in a high vibration and making the best of it.
Like accepting it and letting it go and saying, okay, this is what my life is going to be from now on. So I need to be okay with this.
Accepting and allowing and receiving is what I call it. You're exactly right. Like, what is actually happening, and what can I get? What am I to receive? What is in this for me, not happening to me like a smackdown. And so I let out I didn't know I was in that space of, oh my God. And I let it go.
Can I just say, because a lot of people, someone actually told me, a lot of people who were going through COVID, she's in particular had mentioned this, that she never got COVID at the time, in the last 2 years. But what happened is when she first got the vaccine, she said the same thing, that she had this like sigh of relief that she didn't even know she was holding on to. Like she didn't even realize she had. So describes that exact same thing. Like everything's okay. But then she got the vaccine. She's like, I just had like this,
deep exhale, big release.
Deep exhale.
It's one of when I'm coaching people, and one of the first steps I have in the transformational process is to breathe. And that when we actually consciously focus on taking a big inhale and a big exhale, we actually connect to the fact that we haven't been doing that. Most people breathe very shallowly, and that we are holding our stomach, holding our legs, holding our shoulders, holding our neck. We're holding tension.
We're in tension all the time.
And it's debilitating. Cellularly, it's debilitating. People wonder why they're chronically stressed, and it could be that you're not breathing. or I mean, you're chronically fatigued, it could be that you're not breathing. So you're stressing out your entire autonomic nervous system. So anyway, that's kind of.
Can I just Kimberly's comment here, because
Yes.
I know we talked about this in a minute. She said this speaks not only to physical trauma but emotional trauma. When we let go of trying to control, the surrendering is like lifting a weight in the responsibility of it all. So yes. And then she asked a question here: what is a big takeaway from the experience that has become a part of your thought process after this? So you'll finish what you were about to say, and then we'll answer her question.
Yeah. So thank you, Kimberly. I appreciate your comments and your question. So I was in residential rehab, and then I moved to rehabbing at home, and I eventually went back to work, and I did all kinds of compensating and coping behaviors to enable me to go back and get my class going. I launched my book a year later. The mindset didn't change because, as I mentioned, I had already shifted years before this actually happened. This just gave me an opportunity to double down on the things that I teach and actually have my own life be a petri dish for applying the things that I teach into traumatic situations. There are a couple poignant points, though, to your point, Kimberly. I went to a weekend retreat, and one of the speakers was talking about trauma and relationship with the body. And unbeknownst to me, I had kind of created a space of, I'm going to call it internal emotional misinterpretation of what had happened. And I had taken away this idea that I couldn't trust my body, that I wasn't safe in my body. And that, because this came out of nowhere. In fact, if it had happened a few hours earlier, I would have been driving 80 miles an hour down the freeway and probably would have killed myself and killed someone else. So I had divine grace of having it happen and I live alone. So I wasn't alone. Didn't happen in the middle of the night. The grace of it was I had these 40 faces watching me, but that probably saved my life. Mm-hmm. But I didn't know that I had taken away a little interpretation of the situation, that I can't trust my body, because this came out of nowhere. There was no medical reason. We did sidebar. We did later find out that a great grandmother on my father's side died of a brain hemorrhage. So we could trace 6 months later some sort of hereditary impulse that could be a part of it. But, and I actually had to leave the room where this person was speaking because the message came flooding to me. And I went out into the lobby and I was sobbing because I could feel this, that I had, again, been holding, not realizing it for months, that I couldn't trust my body, that I was in danger from my body doing its own thing without me understanding it. Wow. So that was a really important nugget, because that gave me an opportunity to do what I was showing earlier, which is integrating mind, body, and spirit, and taking the love from the emotional and spiritual heart and flooding myself with it, and helping myself understand that what I interpreted, my body's not safe, that's not really true. That's not what happened. It was just a momentary situation. And the body and I were working in harmony again as we worked to heal. And the other poignant moment was, and I really offer this to everybody who goes into any kind of physical therapy or emotional therapy or spiritual counseling, like, take your foot off the gas. Take your foot off the gas. And it goes,
we all want it now. We all want healing now. We want everything to fix now.
Yesterday for me.
Yesterday.
And it's like, how long is this going to, like, I remember just asking myself, I would ask the physical therapist, how long is it going to be like this? And they would just kind of chuckle. They never answered, but they would just kind of chuckle. And I would start going like, what's going on here? And, on June 5th of this year, I celebrated the 7-year anniversary of surviving this brain hemorrhage, this catastrophic situation. And my body is not back to, it's not 100%. There are still residual effects. I still work with physical therapists. I was just at the orthopedist yesterday about some issues with my knee and my back and my right arm, and that are stroke related. And so it's been an ongoing journey. It's been difficult. And it's also been, the word that wants to come is just joyous in the ability to integrate higher wisdom, higher power, to know what it means when we say, like, to overcome something or to get superiority over it, which I like the latter, the boast. It's not always going to be about it disappearing.
Or perfection.
Well, yeah, I mean, I believe we are perfect exactly the way we are, because we are image and likeness of the divine. So it doesn't matter whether your foot works or your brain works, you're perfection just because you are. But it's never about, like, people kept saying to me, you'll get back to where you were. And I really started listening to this inner voice saying, I'm not sure that's going to serve me at the highest levels. I don't know that just getting back to my body, being able to do, I don't wear high heels anymore. I don't get to wear my sexy shoes. They're still in my closet, and you
can't give them up yet.
I can't. I'm telling you, I'm getting ready to move in the next few months, and I'm like, those shoes can't go. It's like you're just holding on to old energy, but I haven't been able to let them go yet. But I'm starting to talk to myself, and it's really not like, is my life really going to be less than because I don't get to wear a pair of shoes that I had? And no, it's not.
I know.
It's not.
And Kimberly's like, I get that. I get it too, Kimberly. I get it too.
It's funny how long we hang on to things. And when we look at our material stuff that we hang on to, there's a message in there for our emotional, mental, and spiritual self. Like, how long am I going to hang on to resentment about something that happened between me and someone else 10 years ago or yesterday?
Yeah.
How long are we going to dance in the pain of a moment that cannot come back, cannot be retraced, cannot be, the only thing that can be done about the past is that we forgive it. We change our interpretation. We understand wow, is that what was really going on? And we bless ourselves and we bless the situation and everyone involved. And we keep going to higher ground.
Yeah. I love that you highlighted the grace in all of this, because really that's where we have to focus. Not why did this happen to me and how is this and all the negative things, but all the things, like you said, that if this had happened, half an hour earlier, it could have been catastrophic, not just for you, but for many other people in that on the highway. and if it happened to you at home, you would be home alone and nobody would have caught you, and you would have just, expired there, not having anything. Did they do any brain surgery with you? Did they shave your head and have to regrow all of that?
So here we go with Grace again. So when my mother got to the hospital, and here's Grace. So a couple little thing I'll go through really quickly. The place we were supposed to have this workshop that I was facilitating was supposed to be deep into campus. We were going to be at this building, and it was deep inside the center of campus. At the last minute, it got changed to the student center, conference room in the student center, which was really easy to get to on the edge of campus. So the ambulance could get there really quickly. Like,
yeah,
Grace. The next thing was I was taken to Hoag Hospital, which has a renowned in the state stroke unit. Who knew? Then on duty, when I got brought in, who isn't there all the time, was the head of that stroke unit, the neurologist who is board certified head of the stroke unit at Hoag Hospital. Wow. So David Brown was my doctor. When my mother got to the hospital, he said to her, she's had the worst kind of stroke you can have, and there's nothing we can do. Like, the blood is still bleeding, not quite as much. The blood is pooling in her brain. We're prepared to do a craniotomy, that's where they drill a hole to let out the fluid, so it's the pressure isn't building up so much. And I can't tell you anymore. We won't know until the bleed stops. what we're going to have with her. We don't know if she'll wake up. We don't know when she'll wake up. And we have no idea what kind of damage this thing has done until she does wake up. So all of that was, my mom, and the next thing she told me, now I'm just hearing this from her, but the next thing she told me was, and he told her where the chapel was. And she and a friend of mine who brought her to the hospital, she didn't drive herself. She got in the car and heard a voice, don't drive, and went back in her place and called a friend of mine, and he came and picked her up and took her to the hospital. But they went and prayed in the chapel, and they did not have to do a craniotomy. It took about, according to the MRIs, I'm thinking it was about 14 months before all the blood got reabsorbed by my body.
Wow. I didn't even know it did that. I didn't even know it did that.
It does. It was tough. I mean, the vertigo, it was a tough 6 months. Yeah. It was.
Still had the nausea because the blood in your brain.
I still get nauseous at times, which I don't know what that is. The nausea from when my head goes below my knees, like when I'm stretching and I'm doing yoga, when my head goes below my waist and my knees, I come up and I feel a little bit like, not nausea, it's more like wooziness, like, oh, that's a little bit weird. And there are some other, I said, there are residual effects, so it's by no sense gone. I feel like I'm doing a much better job loving my body exactly the way it is and thanking it for
continuing to bring you through, continuing to survive, continuing to thrive, continuing to hold you up.
And I talk to it like I'm talking to a younger version of myself. So when my right hand's having trouble, instead of saying, oh my God, I wish you would get your act together, I lovingly say to my right hand, okay, let's see how the left hand does it. And so I'll do the thing with my left hand, and then I'll show my right hand, okay, did you see that? And then I'll ask the right hand to do it again, and it usually does. There are certain things that are still difficult. I really have trouble holding a mouse and trying to get the mouse to do stuff. I really have trouble with that, but it's getting better. And take it one moment at a time and just immerse myself in gratitude for everything. I mean, and the left side, oh my gosh, the left side, the masculine side of me, the left side is really powerfully strong and has been, captain of this ship for 7 years, carrying the right side through. And I'm just so grateful, and it knows it. So
your book, did you add some of this event into your book before you, or are you writing a new book about it?
No, it's kind of like, I don't know that it's that important. People want me to tell the story because it helps people in their own situations. And I love that. I mean, one thing that I want to caution people about is, because when people share their stories, one thing that can happen is people get into a comparison place and they're like, oh my gosh, and I've had people say this to me, wow, I should be ashamed of myself for being upset with the dynamics in my life when you've gone through so much. And I'm like, okay, no, let's shut that down. It's not a comparison or an Olympics of suffering. That's not what's going on here. The only reason I'm sharing this is to show you the things that helped me in the dynamics with which I was dealing. You have your own circumstance. It's got its own level of trouble and trauma and pain and yuckiness, and you're allowed to feel that it is equal, if not worse. It's not about comparison. It's in the absolute. Your pain is your pain. Your suffering is your suffering. And I honor that. Absolutely. And if I can support you by telling you what I've done, happy to do that.
Because we can take a nugget.
I do not feel called to write a book about it.
Okay, awesome. But you can take a nugget from that about attitude or how to treat your body or just something. I'm 100% in agreement with you. It's not about comparisonitis. It's really oh, well, you know what? I had this situation happen to me where I have, my foot or my leg or my arm or something. And so if using the techniques that you did to integrate all of that, maybe I can integrate some of those techniques. That's the purpose of all of this, not to compare. So I love that. Kimberly says that each journey is individual because it's a self thing. Yes, it's our own thing. Corey says, awesome. So I want to share your book title. Your book title is Living Happy to Be Me, Dancing Your Soul Lifestyle.
Yes.
And you can reach out to Dr. Valerie Shepherd on LinkedIn. You can check her out just at Valerie Shepherd on LinkedIn and check her out, because I really want you to connect with this brilliant, amazing woman. Kimberly says we each walk with validity. Absolutely.
Hallelujah. Amen.
Each of our story, and this is why I love doing the show, because every story has validity. I remember when I was told by a coach that I'm a speaker. She's like, you should speak, you're a speaker. And I said, I don't have a story. I don't have anything to share with anyone. I don't think, what I've gone through in life is important enough that anybody would care. And how wrong was I? And how wrong would anyone else be to say that? Because each story, each person has tremendous validity and power in it, because your journey is your journey and it's nobody else's journey. So you get to share your journey.
Hallelujah. Amen.
With it. So thank you. And listen, Dr. Valerie is going to be on Unleash Your Audacious Confidence on Win Win Women TV coming up on what date was that? She's coming up on another episode. You'll see it on my
I think it's
next Monday. The 27th. Is it the 20? It may be next Monday.
It is. It's the 27th at 2 p.m. Pacific.
5 p.m. Eastern. So come join us, because we're going to talk a little bit deeper into the work that she does to help people really overcome some of this, and get deeper spiritual work. And so come join Dr. Valerie Shepherd and I on Unleash Your Audacious Confidence next Monday. That would be awesome. And Kimberly says, thank you so much. Thank you for joining and sticking with us, Kimberly. Thank you for staying the whole show.
Yeah, so, Kimberly, awesome to have you.
Thank you, Dr. Valerie. Really appreciate you. Don't go anywhere. So thank you.
Yes. Many blessings.
So that was this episode of Love My Body, Love Myself with Dr. Valerie Shepherd. And again, this story is her story, and it's here. All these stories that we share on this show on Love My Body, Love Myself is to inspire you and to help you find the joy in life, even if you're going through something, because someone else has made it over onto the other side. So you can see what's possible. So even if you're in the midst of the storm right now, it's to encourage and inspire you and to really give you hope that even though Dr. Valerie's story is not your story, we're all dealing with something. And so maybe there's a little nugget in there that she shared that you can take with you and implement into your life. I want to let you know, if you want to be a guest on the show, you are welcome. We have 10 more episodes of this show. Well, after today, 9 more episodes of this show. So if you'd like to be a guest, just email support@aliciacurry.com and we will send you over our link to book to be a guest on the show, because we'd love to share your story. We'd love to hear your journey of self-love, body positivity, how you overcame whatever it is that you needed to overcome. So thank you so much for joining us. And don't forget to check in with us. Come share your story. We're always looking for guests or sponsors for the show. So with that said, I want to encourage you all to do something, even if it's just one thing this week, to prove to yourself that you love your body and that you love yourself. And I will see you next time on another episode of Love My Body, Love Myself. Mwah, mwah, mwah.